Hey everybody, welcome back to Mishaps, Magic, and Mayhem. I'm Tyler Skinner, and I'm gonna be telling you the truth about my story. When I hear the words mishaps, magic, and mayhem, I wanna tell you where my story begins. Today I wanna dive in deep into the cost of saying yes to the wrong things. So here's something I noticed. I'm gonna go right into this. I recently said no to an almost $30,000 contract. And I bet some of you right now are probably thinking to yourself, what was she thinking? And you know what? I was thinking that as well. That definitely crossed my mind multiple times. And guess what? This didn't happen overnight. I did not say no to that contract like that. Did not happen. Most people think that. They think, oh, Tyler, you're so courageous. You're so brave. You do all these things. And yes, I am brave. I'm a very brave soul. And I've done a lot of brave things and a lot of really hard things. But guess what? They were things that I built. I built a resilience in me, and I built a flexed a muscle, so to speak, to get to that place. And as a woman running a business in this world, in this day and age, we are taught, programmed even, I would say, we are taught to take everything, to say yes to everything, to please, to be agreeable, to be nice, right? We're taught that that is part of doing business, right? Is that we want to make sure everyone likes us. We want to make sure we get along. We want to make sure we belong. And sometimes in order to belong, do you really have to betray yourself? That's a question I want you to sit with for a second. If you're listening to this, do you have to betray yourself in order to belong? I say no to that. I say hell no to that, because I did that for most of my life, most of my young adult life, most of my youth. I was taught, if you go way, way back, I was taught as a child to people please. I was told by my mother, and this is not a joke, and mom, if you're listening, turn it off because I'm about to talk on you on this a little bit. I was taught by my mother, and she literally would say this to me. She'd say, do the right thing no matter what anyone else does. Now, what does that tell you as a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid? It tells you no matter what anyone else, I took it this way later in life. At the time, I'm like, yeah, you rise above, right? You do the right thing. You've got to be the bigger person. You've got to be the one that is going to do the right thing no matter what. But then I looked at the no matter what anyone else does part as I got older. And I started thinking in my teens and my early 20s, like, what does that even mean? No matter what anyone else does? That means anyone can treat me however they want to. They can say whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They can act however they want. And I'm just supposed to be like, I'll do the right thing. I'll take the high road. I'll be great. I'll be the bigger person. No, I don't think that that is fair. I don't think that's right. And I now as a mother myself with 2 girls, I'm not teaching my daughters how to be like that. As much as I don't love all the time how they argue with me back. And I'm like, don't do it to me, do it to everyone else. But as much as I don't love that, I don't let that happen. I would never say something like that to my kids. I'll say a lot of other things that they're probably going to go to therapy for later and tell me all the things I did wrong, but I am not going to say that to my children. Do whatever, let people treat you however, and just be nice and just be agreeable and just do it anyway. So that sets the stage and the tone for what I'm about to talk about today. I literally, my entire life, if I really think about it and I really break it down, from the time I was young, friendships, all of it, I would just be the bigger person. I would be the nice person. I would be the one trying to get everyone together, trying to make sure everyone got along, trying to make sure everyone loved me, liked me, saw me, was all about me. And guess what that did? It was awesome. Sometimes it worked out, but for the majority of the time, it was at my own expense. Every single time I can think back to those moments where I felt like that was off, or why did I do that? Or why is that girl talking like that? Or what's happening here? Every single time it was at my expense. So what I'm teaching women now in my work that I do is to not do that, to literally look at themselves in the mirror. And if they don't have a mirror at home, I'm going to have one ready. I'm going to have a mirror right here and go, check this out. This is not to judge you. This is not to criticize you. And this is absolutely not to shame you, but you are going to look at yourself. You are going to have to meet yourself at some point in your life. I don't know if that's in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. You are going to come to a point in your life where you're going to have to meet yourself, and you are going to have to say and ask yourself this question: what do I want? What do I care about? what does that really mean something to me? Or should I do this or should I do? You're going to come at these crossroads as if this person does this to me, how am I going to react? What do I want? How do I want to react? And the hardest part, I think, it goes into all these other things, is relationships. That's where it starts. And relationships are business. Relationships are how you handle your business. If you're handling your relationships over here, where you're pleasing and you're giving away your power and you're doing everything because you want them to have something or feel good about something, or you want to make sure that you don't rock the boat or make waves, and then you do that against your own core beliefs and yourself, what is that really telling them energetically? What are you sending out? What signal are you giving them? And that's what was happening to me. I was throwing this out there like it was candy. I was just like, hey, everybody can have a piece of me. Everybody can have whatever they want of me, and I'm cool. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be tough. I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to be resilient. And guess all that did was harden me on the outside. And so everyone looked at me like I was the strong one. I was the brave one. I had it all together. On the inside, I was like a shell of a human. I was vapid. I was void. I had nothing. And so when I got into relationships, I had to fill that up. I had to fill all that in, like that dirt in a hole. I had to fill it all in with something. And usually what I did is I just got into the wrong relationships. I got into the wrong business partnerships. I just took whatever I thought I needed and said yes. And why would I say yes to something now? I'm looking this flash forward. Why would I say yes to something that didn't really serve me in the first place? In my body, I feel all the signals now in my 40s. Like I said before, I've gotten into narcissistic, emotionally really abusive relationships. I had a marriage like that in my 20s where I just went right in I was like, again, moth to a flame, went right in, and I let myself lose myself in that. That person didn't do, at the time I just blamed him, right? I blamed him for everything. But really I needed to look at myself and say, when I left that relationship, and again, it took me forever to leave. When I left that relationship, I just looked at myself. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I didn't even recognize who I was anymore. I lost all of my sense of self in that experience. And that was one of the lowest, darkest places that I had ever been in. And it was because I let myself betray myself over and over and over again. I became resentful. I became bitter. I became angry. And I was depressed. I was alone. And that feeling, I don't want any woman to go through. I don't want anyone to experience. Anyone. I don't care if you're man, woman, who you are. I don't want anyone to go through that. But I definitely see in women that is an easy way, easy road to go if we don't have that inner confidence. Oh, look, and we got a fan over here. If we don't have that inner confidence and that willingness to show up and say no and not yes. Just say the no and walk away when something doesn't feel right, when something doesn't feel aligned, when something doesn't feel good. And those signals are in your body. Every single part of me, I can tell you, I'm just giving you an example of that relationship because that relationship ties into how I'm doing business. It ties into how I do everything. That relationship right there, for example, took me 4 times to leave. And I had a little kid at the time. I became a single mom overnight. And it was a decision that I actually made intentionally, but it took 4 times and several months for me to actually say yes to myself enough and find that little tiny light, that little glimmer of worth where I could say, I could leave this. I could be done with this. This is enough is enough. And my kid was what really was mattered most. And so I'm not saying everyone out there has to be, if you're a single mom, if you're not, you'll know that feeling, right? But to be able to have enough belief and enough strength to walk away from something is what I'm talking about in business. That translates over to how I would do something. And I still, to this day, take a long time to leave things. I've dissolved partnerships, all of it. And it's taken me a long time to recognize. But as you flex that muscle, as you practice, when you do it more often, guess what? You get real good at it. And those signals get louder and louder and louder. And what I see a lot in women, and I saw in myself, is your health starts to fail. You start to see things in your body like you gain weight, you hold on to stress, you start to Your heart's racing all the time. You have anxiety. You start getting up at night for no reason. You're doing all these things that you're like, who am I? What is this? This is not me. I'm vibrant. I'm loving. I'm giving. I'm all these things. And somehow it kind of goes into this other path that isn't you anymore. And I've noticed this with the women I work with. I've noticed this with my friendships. I've noticed this even in my own kids. I've seen it in some of their interactions at school. And I'll tell you this, your body is your biggest ally. Your body is, and it's not just, oh, stay healthy because you want to take care of your body. That's not what I'm saying. Your body is your biggest ally because your body gives you signals. Your body tells you when something's off. It's not just the little hairs up on the back of your neck, right? Like you walk into a dark room and go, what is this? I'm so scared. That's one way. Fear is a great, great signal. But that nervousness that you feel, that stress, that anxiety, some of those things, why? The biggest thing we don't do is we continue on our path without checking in. We don't ask why. We never ask why. And if we just asked ourselves, why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening right now? What did that person say that made me feel like that gave me that reaction? And we analyze and we just look at that a little bit more, we would find all of the clues. All of it is coded in this body. All of you would use a heart racing. Somebody says something and you kind of go, ooh, and you feel that tinge in your body. So what I do is I help women feel the signals. I help them embody what that confidence looks like on the outside, what people keep saying, portray, walk away, do this, do that, say no. It's not that easy. And I'm telling you all this, I'm sharing all this openly because it's not easy sometimes. But as you do it more and more and more, it becomes easier. And then you can do it with ease. And that's why this contract and this last thing that just happened to me and some of these things that have happened to me this year alone, I have been through some stuff and really hard stuff. And so have you. And so has anyone listening to this. If you really think about it, you've been through some really incredibly hard, challenging things. And you've come out on the other side. You can think of at least one instance, I know it, where you did something and you were like, I can't do this, this is not happening. And you did it, and then you came out and you're like, maybe not so bad, or it was bad, and then you said, never again, never again. And I'll tell you, the more you practice this, the more you do this, the more you put it into place, the easier it becomes. And then it becomes second nature. It's like I could do this almost like I could speak two languages. So listen to yourself, trust yourself, know yourself. That's the one thing I can say is the greatest gift that we have as human beings. If we can spend a little bit of time each day really being alone or knowing ourselves, being in silence, just getting to know who we are and what we care about and what matters to us so that we can share that with the world in a way that feels good. And when something's off and someone comes to us with some bullshit, really, because they will, and they try to take advantage of you or they try to outsmart you or they're trying to, give you something that's not aligned, right? Even if they're not trying to take advantage, even if it's just something that feels off and the communication's not there and you don't feel like something's good, you can just say, no, thank you. And that's complete. And that's all you need. I have seen women literally, and I'm speaking about literally most of the women that I interact with. When women say no to something, they go through a series of things, right? Not everyone is an individual experience. But what I get, I'm not talking about the right after. The aftermath of a no, and it depends on what no and what circumstance, okay? But the aftermath of a no is usually something like, oh shit. Like, what did I just do? And that's okay. That's accurate. That's absolutely accurate. It's a oh shit, typically. Oh, what did I just say to that person? What did I just tell my family member that are they gonna hate me forever? Is this person going to now tell everyone, talk about me to the community? I mean, I've heard it all, right? Is this relationship gonna end? And then what do I do? I mean, this is the oh shit usually comes first. And then after you start to think about it, you start to get support. That's why support is so big. You've gotta have your community. You've got to have your people in place, your village. So when you have the support, you start to realize that you can walk step by step through that process. And I think I just shared this recently, but it's a grieving process. I went through a full grieving. Whenever I say no to something big that I care about personally, that I love and that matters or did matter to some degree, I'm attached. I'm emotionally involved. I am absolutely going to grieve. And grieving's okay. And I don't think people talk about this enough. It's okay to grieve a loss of something. And it's okay to spend some time on that. It's okay to cry it out, scream it out, figure it out, like work through those emotions. But doing that in a way that is healthy, right, for you. Like, I'm not going to sit in that forever. I had a dear friend that told me this. She's like, don't have a pity party. That's what she would tell me. She goes, no, sorry, not don't have a pity party. She would say, I always give myself a pity party. And I went, what? What does that mean? She said, well, I'll maybe get a glass of wine. I'll put on some cool music. I'll cry. I'll sit there and dance around my living room. But I give myself an allotted amount of time. And that's it. That's all I get. I get this amount of time to have a pity party. And then I'm done. I'm like, girl, you get a day or you get an hour. And then you're done. You're done. No more of that. And then she moves on. And I think that is so healthy. I think that's amazing. And so I adopted that for myself. I'm like, can I borrow that? She's like, absolutely. So I start doing that. I'll set almost like a timer. You know, people meditate for a certain amount of time or they do whatever. Work out. And people are like, I'll do an hour workout today. I'm going to do an hour of a pity party. I'm just going to cry it out. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to talk to some friends. I might go for a walk. I'll do something to just get my mind back on track and let myself feel the feels and then be like, I'm done. I'm done. We're moving on. Next thing, next. And I know that that's easier said than done. I know that you might be listening to this and you go, yeah, right. Okay. You don't know, but I'm telling you this because I'm sharing all this stuff with you. And if you're listening and paying attention, I mean, abusive relationships, horrible friendships, really bad, I mean, parents as addicts. I can go on and on and on and on in the list. And I'm not trying to count all these things to say, oh my God, I've had this such a hard life and you don't. What I'm telling you is I've been through things and so have you. And so we can relate. We can relate to certain things that I know for a fact that what I've been through, there have been really dark things that have happened to me and I somehow pulled myself out of it. Whether that was a friend, a phoning in a friend, whether that was a family member that told me some hard truths, whether that was me just looking in the mirror and going, you don't want to be this person. You are not this girl. And I had to pick myself up and do something. Whatever it took, I did it. And that's all I'm saying is just, I want people to recognize that those things are in there and they're activated and they're always firing and we just don't listen. So if we give ourselves a minute to listen, we'll recognize things quicker and we'll be able to make decisions faster. If it doesn't feel right, I'm just going to say this, ask yourself why. Why doesn't that feel right? And then you know what? What's the worst? You ask the second question of what's the worst that can happen if, and then do ... What's the worst that can happen if? And then make your decision. That's your third step. I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3 punch. You first say why? Why am I feeling this way? Then you go, what happens if? Can I live with that? And if your answer is yes, done, out, cut, walk, be done with it. Be done with it. And I know it's easier said than done, but just feel what it feels like to do those things, even if it's the smallest little things like, no, I don't want to eat at that restaurant tonight. Like the littlest thing of just saying no to things that you really don't want to do. Someone invites you to a party, just decline the invitation. And don't even say why. Here's the biggest, don't even say why. Just say, no, thank you. I'm busy. No, thank you. I can't make it. Done. You don't have to say anything else. We fill in space with all these explanations. You do not owe anyone an explanation. Well, maybe that's not true. You owe yourself an explanation. And you owe maybe your family and loved ones sometimes an explanation. If you really like your kids, if you want to talk about things and teach lessons. But if you really want to walk away from something, ask yourself those 3 things. Why am I feeling this way? What if? And then just do it. And watch what happens.